Hello, friends. Mrs. Buckley here. I'm so happy to be back with you again. Today, we're going to talk about plants. First, we'll learn a little bit about plants, what they all have in common, how they're different, and some of the different ways that we use them. Because plants are a very, very important part of our life in so many different ways. After we talk about plants for a little while, I think we'll head out and do a little planting in some pots so we can see exactly how it gets done and take a real life look at some of the plants and their bits and pieces. So first of all, let's talk about how plants are all the same. Most plants, almost all plants, start from seeds. And plants all have a stem and roots and leaves. They all need water and air and sunlight in order to grow. They all make their own food, and they all provide oxygen, which we need to breathe. Now, some of the ways that plants are different, it's a lot easier to figure out because some plants are huge, like big trees, and some plants are tiny, like little herbs or little buttercups, tiny little plants. But, and some plants need lots and lots of sun. Some plants do pretty well growing in the shade, just getting a little bit of sunlight filtered through. Some plants grow where it's colder, and some plants can only grow where it's very, very warm. Some plants like a lot of water, and some plants don't need all that much water, just a little bit. So you can see that in many ways they are different, although they all basically have the same bits and pieces. Let's take a look at those parts of the plant. Now this plant has a flower. Not all plants have a flower, but you can see down here are the roots. They grow underneath the ground or the dirt. And then you have the stem. This is the flower, and these are leaves. Now the job of the roots is to grow below the dirt, and they take the water and the nutrients, which for you would be like the vitamins and the minerals, the things that help them make food, and they send all that up to the stem. The stem carries all of those things up the plant and to the leaves and to the flowers or the fruit or whatever else is growing on that particular plant. The leaves of the plant make the food. They take in the water and the sunlight and the carbon dioxide, and they kind of mix it all together in there and create sugar. And the sugar is what feeds the plant, gives its energy to grow and to produce flowers and vegetables and fruits. So that is basically how the plants work. Let's take a look at a certain category of plants that are some of my favorites that are called herbs. Herbs are used a lot in cooking and a lot in medicine. For example, I'm sure most of you have had parsley. Parsley we use a lot in cooking, and sometimes we just use it for decoration or what they call garnish in a fancy restaurant. They'll put a little bit on the side of your plate to make it look pretty, but it is very delicious. This little plant here, this is oregano. Oop, and you can see where some of the roots are growing right through the bottom of the container. Oregano is a plant that's used quite often in Italian cooking and lots of other forms of cooking. Lots of Greek cooking has oregano in it, and it smells wonderful and spicy, and it's quite delicious. This herb is called lavender. Lavender has a wonderful, wonderful scent. If you'll pull one of these spiky leaves off and just bend it a little bit, oh, you can smell the wonderful scent. Lots of people use lavender because of that wonderful smell in lotions and soaps and things like that, so that we can all smell nice when we get dressed up or whatever. Well, I think that's enough chit-chat about plants. Let's get down to it. Let's head out to the garden and put some plants in some dirt. I'll show you how it's done. One of my favorite activities is planting. All right, here we are out in my backyard, and I have a little table set up here so that I can show you just what's involved with a couple of different kinds of planting. The first kind of planting we're going to do is from seeds. I have here a little container. It's got some dirt in it. And I have a package of green bean seeds, like we used in our project in the twos class. I've just shaken out a couple of beans, seeds, like so, and I'm going to place them in the dirt, spread them out a little bit, give them each a little nest, and then I'm going to put a little more dirt in on top and very gently pat it down. Now don't forget, we said that all plants need water and sunlight. So the next step is to give our baby seeds some water. Just enough to get the soil damp and moist. You don't want to drown them. And this will go in a sunny spot until the seeds start to poke their little stems up from the ground. Now, the next kind of planting we're going to try is called transplanting. It's where you move a plant that's already started from one container to another. This flower here is a very pretty little plant, and it will do pretty well in the shade. As you can see, we're in a fairly shady spot. But it's getting big for this container, so it's time to put it into something bigger. I've put a little bit of dirt in this container over here, and this particular thing isn't actually a flower pot. It's an old cooking pot, but I like to use different kinds of things when I plant. It makes the garden and the patio interesting. So the first thing we're going to do is take this plant out of one container into the other. Very gently, right? So we're going to give it a pat. And just like that. Now, look at this plant. All of these little white bits that are falling down from the bottom here are roots. We're very gently going to loosen some of the roots so that they hang down like that. And then we're going to take our pot, again, make a little well, and very gently we're going to put our plant right down into the dirt. Now I will get our bag of dirt. And all around the edges, very gently, we want to put some dirt in like this. I think I like to plant because it's kind of a good excuse to get dirty and messy. It's not a neat job, but it is a lot of fun, and it's very satisfying when you see your plants start to grow and get bigger, and especially if your plants give you something beautiful like vegetables or flowers. Now, let's not forget, even though this plant has already been started, it still is going to need water, especially when it's just first transplanted. So we're going to give it some water. And there it is, in its new home, with a little more room to grow. I hope you enjoyed spending some time here in the garden with me and talking about plants, some of my favorite things. And I hope maybe that you and your family might try some of these ideas out at your own house. And you can watch your own plants that you start or transplant grow up with you. Anyway, that's all for today. Bye-bye. I miss you all tremendously, and I'll see you all next video. Bye, guys.